What's the craziest crime you or somebody in your family has committed? My friend got blackout drunk and stole a bulldozer that had the keys left in it. He turned it on and obviously didn't know how to drive it, so he just ended up making the scoopy part go up and down for a bit before the cops came. They actually let him go too. Scoopy part. He ain't wrong. My sister-in-law worked on a ski hill. One week there was a promotion by a company where they would blow up big inflatables, like the big gorillas you see in car lots. She had seen them blow them up and deflate them for days, so she knew what the deflated ones looked like. One day she was leaving work and one of these deflated mascot thingies was right behind her car. My sister-in-law has never stolen anything in her entire life, but at that moment she decided out of the blue that she wanted that blow-up. She plopped it in the back and drove home. When I came to visit a couple weeks later, she was freaking out about it. She asked me if I wanted it, just to get the evidence out of her house. That is the story of how I came to own a 2-story high inflatable cow. Edit, damn. This one blew up. So, everybody is asking, but no, I don't have any pictures of the cow. It looked like this: n.wikipedia.org wikimilka #media file milkanepotsdam.jpg. Edit number 2. A lot of people telling me I'm lying because I don't have photos from 20 years ago, so here, imgur.com diaries fudbs. I dug through my old Facebook photos to find this. My dad's older brother came home from the war in Vietnam to find that his wife had been cheating on him with his best friend. He locked them both in the friend's house and burned it down with them in it. He held the firefighters off with a rifle until he was sure they couldn't be saved, then he shot himself. This was before I was born, but I've seen some newspaper clippings about it. Edit, several people asked how he kept them in the house alone. I asked my mother about it and she said that he locked them together in a small bedroom closet and barricaded the door from the outside so they couldn't get out. This was in the 1970s in New Orleans. I'm not gonna give more info as it'd be easy to tie back to me, same last name, or his daughter who was a little under 2 years old at the time, and I don't want that. Edit number 2, apparently it's Vietnam and not Vietnam. Thanks for the corrections. That's a bit darker than I expected of this thread. Seriously. I was thinking it would be like my brother stole a car and led a police chase or something. I stole a Pokemon coloring book when I was 4 by accident from Walmart and then cried as my sister took it back into them. That better. You're a monster. My dad brought in a banana tree to the US from his home village in Kerala. He literally walked through customs with a tree in a pot in his arms. The customs lady asked him what he was thinking and he just replied that the banana tree was from his mother's garden. The customs lady must have thought my dad was crazy, but she just let him walk right through. We still have that tree and its offspring. Customs lady, this is crazy, your dad. No, this is bananas. My grandfather's cousin stabbed a waiter to death because he wouldn't let him use the employees only restroom in his restaurant. Is your grandfather's cousin Jack Henry Abbott? Yes. Have you read his book about life in prison? It's an experience. I have. A distant cousin got her terminally ill father to give her power of attorney and then stole all of his money so she wouldn't have to split it with her brother. Edit, don't worry, she did go to jail as her rush to clean him out involved a lot of fraud and forgery. Edit 2, man, it is slightly depressing how many of you have similar stories. What's up with people? A guy I went to school with in the 70s emptied his dementia-ridden father's life savings while he lived with him. 60-some years old, and still stealing to support his coke habit. His sister found out, and he did 5 years, restitution, $80K, no way he'll live long enough to pay that back, and 8 years probation. It's not a bad crime or anything, but it was illegal at the time. So, in Germany, up until a few years ago, we still had a general draft for the army. And a generation ago it was very hard to get out of it. My uncle was a hardcore pacifist, so going to the army wasn't an option for him. But being accepted as a conscientious objector at that time basically required you to be a devout Christian and use the Bible as an argument for why you couldn't kill another human. And my uncle was also atheist. He couldn't realistically object, didn't want to go to the army and didn't want to go to jail, too. So he waited. He got sent his draft notice, passed the physical and got a letter telling him to report to X company under Sergeant Y. He wrote back a reply, on rose-colored paper, scented with perfume, about how much he was looking forward to serving under the strong leadership of Y, promising to obey every one of his orders, and that he can't wait to experience life in the barracks together with so many strong and muscular men. He was declared unfit for service shortly after. Now this is the kind of rule breaking I live to hear about. Cheeky bastard. My dad, when he was much younger and infinitely more stupid, regularly used to drink drive with his friends. It was the early 70s, and no one really cared. To hear him speak about it now, he can't believe how stupid he was. One night, he and his friend were out drinking. They heard there was a party going on at a pub across town and decided to head over. On the way they go past a large club with a queue of people waiting to go in. My dad decides to show off a bit and pull a skid. He miscalculated, hit a curb and flipped the car, sliding down the road on his roof. The car stops, they get out and leg it, to the cheers of the people in the queue. They get the bus back home and immediately call the police to report the car as stolen. The police knew what had happened, but couldn't prove anything. So your dad's story to the cops was the car was stolen and the thieves crashed it? If you have a police report about a stolen car, your insurance handles it differently than if you destroy it yourself. It's a whole new felony, but hey, it might work out, and we've already established that the driver doesn't make good decisions. Probably pretty easy to commit insurance fraud back then. A whole queue of people cheering for you destroying your car, and not a single cell phone video to be used as evidence. Cousin got busted robbing a bank. Got sentenced to jail. Proceeded to break out of jail with his cellmate and went on the run. Fast forward a few months and he's living in a hotel room with his cellmate. Cellmate orders a pizza to the room, bad idea. Delivery guy recognized them and reported them to the police. They get arrested again, and shortly after my cousin killed himself in prison. My cousin had a wife and a kid and got into a nasty coke habit. We don't bring him up anymore. This was a couple of generations back, early 20th century, but there was this guy who was constantly getting drunk and harassing my great-aunt. So, one of her male friends dressed up in an Easter bunny outfit, put a bat in its giant fake carrot and beat the dude with it. He got away with it, but I'm sure it helped that half the community was waiting for the day the guy's liver finally gave out. Edit, okay, one small clarification, the bat in question was a baseball bat, not the flying mammal, though that's certainly an interesting visual, and I can't say I'm sorry for my small role in creating that image. Donnie Darko'd his ass have. A. Ducking. Carrot. My grandfather's father was a mean, abusive, hateful drunk, who would come home from working in the mines long enough to terrorize his children and impregnate his wife and then leave again for mine work. He tried to set the house on fire, with wife and kids, 13 of them, inside twice. One day my grandfather and a couple of his siblings were picking berries across the road from the house, and his drunk father started taking potshots at them with a rifle. My grandpa, one brother, and his oldest sister took off running for the house with the agreement that the first one there would kill him, their father. My grandpa's sister got there first and shot him to death. She was never charged with a crime, due to her age and the fact that everyone knew my great-grandfather was a mean son of a bitch and had it coming. Ada, wow, my most upvoted comment is about my family's ducked up history. Lol edit number 2, thank you all so much for the awards. Also, rip inbox lol edit number 3, since some of y'all think it's fake, here's some proof. Inger.com. This sounds a lot like my grandma's dad. Because of this she never drank a drop, and my grandpa promised her nobody would ever drink around her ever again. He kept that promise. My dad told me he once snuck into a tire warehouse, he cut the alarm and came in through a window on the roof, and stole a bunch of tires. Does he have any leftover tires? I'm looking for some 23565R18S. My dad's side of the family grew up as New Hampshire hicks. My grandfather was stabbed in 2 different bar fights and burned down an entire country club because he thought they were too stuck up. He was never caught and went on to earn a Bronze and Silver Star in the Korean War, but unfortunately lost his leg too. Edit, since this is getting some attention, I thought I might add that my grandfather got his shit together, started a successful small business, and as a funny twist later joined that same country club as an old man. He never really felt welcome there, my dad said, though, they weren't really his kind of people. Live free or die.